Welcome to NuttieBuddie Sports.
Okay.
Recapping Wild Card Weekend. The New England Patriots versus the Buffalo Bills.
Okay, so the first game that we're going to talk about is the New England Patriot Buffalo Bill game, and the Bills handily handled the Patriots. That's really the game notes. Now, I got a couple game notes for myself, but just real quick, maybe one takeaway that maybe you guys took away from the game. Maybe we can start with Eric. Anything you wanted to mention as far as that game went?
Well, I think the Patriots were a little overhyped coming in, apparently, because it looked like, especially Mac Jones, who I kind of thought was that way anyways. He had a solid rookie season, but the Bills just destroyed them, and they had like no chance right off the bat, almost.
No, I agree, Chris.
Yeah, pretty much the same. I just never would have expected in a million years. The same with Mac Jones, kind of average at this point. I didn't really expect New England to have too good of a game on offense, but I never would have expected a Belichick defense to have a historically great offensive performance against them. They just were completely hapless to stop anything Buffalo was doing. There was no adjustments. It was just an absolute beatdown. So that was what was surprising to me.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And Zach?
Yeah, shock is the word I would use. Just you expect the game to be somewhat close, at least, based on the two games they played earlier this season. You thought it would be a little more of a shootout, but it ended up being that Buffalo they were just too efficient. They scored on, I don't know if it was every single drive they had in the game, but it was pretty close to it if it wasn't, other than the end of the game. I mean, it was incredible performance from the Bills.
Yeah, I agree. So a couple of game notes. So let's start with Mac Jones, because that's one of the game notes I had. Is basically it's his first start as a rookie quarterback for the Patriots. He was 24-38 for 232, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. The one interception, Carlos Hyde, I believe it was, made a fantastic interception. Not Carlos Hyde. Is it? No, it's Micah Hyde. Yeah, I knew it was a Hyde, though. That's all that matters. Micah Hyde, that was a fantastic interception. So I felt like he did fine. I felt it was more of a defensive problem than it was him problem. What did you guys think of the Patriots offense? Any takeaways from that?
Just that basically if they're not running the ball effectively, Mac Jones isn't at the point where he can win games for them. And their receivers are solid. None of them are bad, except for maybe N'Keal Harry, but none of them are really game breaker types either. They're just solidly efficient wide receivers. So if their running game, and obviously they had to abandon the running game too because they got down really, really fast. But if they're not leading with that, their offense is not going to be very good.
Yeah. I was kind of curious all season. I hadn't really watched a lot of Patriots games, but they picked up Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith at the beginning of the year, and I just didn't really see them utilize either of those guys very effectively throughout the entire season. And then even into the playoffs here, I think there was more opportunity for those guys to really step up in a game where they needed to step up, getting the ball down the field quickly, and it just didn't really seem like there was any way for them to get the ball.
Yeah, I was surprised by that all year. I mean, I guess I can look up his stats very quickly, but yeah, that was kind of a big signing. It was the Patriots are getting back to their 2 tight end glory days. And Jonnu Smith had some, I believe he came from Tennessee, right? And he was pretty good there, and he didn't do anything this season. I mean, Hunter Henry was pretty solid, but yeah, Jonnu Smith, 28 catches, 294 yards. So that was kind of a dud, I guess.
But that's why he gets paid the big bucks, right? No, no, I agree. I thought those tight ends were really good signings. Even Nelson Aguilar, that was definitely an overrated signing at the time for the amount of money he was going to get. But I don't even think he had that great of the season. All the offensive weapons that they signed were kind of like, for them. Eric, what did you think of Mac Jones' first start in that offense for the Patriots?
Well, just you gotta question. Not he didn't do terrible, I guess, but like my thing is that he just, I mean, he's a rookie, so he got to the playoffs, but it showed that if things aren't going right, he right now can't keep up with the other team if they're just outscoring them, because he relies a lot on other things to help. He is a rookie, so he'll have time to develop, but he needs a lot to go right to win right at this moment. So, well, we'll see. That's my opinion on him at the moment.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. I agree with that. I think it's a rookie, and sometimes we get impatient. He was still the best rookie quarterback this season. Like, so much. Yeah, no, that's the point. It's all relative though, right? Yeah. But there was a moment in the game I thought, like, we talked on the last podcast about analytics, right? And there was that one point in the game they were down 14-0. They gave I believe it was Damian Harris the ball, and he gets stopped short of the first down. It was like 4th and inches, and they punt it. In that moment, I think I go for it there, because your defense is getting wrecked and you're not stopping them. You need some sort of momentum. And I think you text me, Chris, once it got like 21-0, you're like, game over. It really felt that way at that point. Right. So they should have probably went for it on that 4th down play for sure. But yeah. Defense couldn't stop anyone. We talked about that a little bit. That was really surprising. Let's just get into the next thing, which is Josh Allen. He went full God mode. That's what I put down. He went God mode in this game. 21 for 25, 308, 5 touchdowns, 6 carries for 66 yards. There's a statement that I heard. I wanted to get you guys' like opinion on it. Somebody said that when Josh Allen plays at his best, he's the best player in football. Zach. Let me start with Zach. Zach, you agree with that statement?
I find it hard to argue it. I mean, you just watched that game yesterday, and how do you argue it? I mean, against the Patriots defense that's supposed to be so good, it's hard to make an argument against him. But look at the stat lines. It's unbelievable, really.
Yeah, I agree. What do you think, Eric?
Well, it depends. Are you saying best quarterback in football or best player in football?
Yeah, so it was the best. Well, I guess quarterback, but at his best, he's the best player. That's how it was worded. So you could take that for what it means.
I mean, you can't argue with his not only efficiency, and he was able to run the ball, but I mean, I do think there's a couple quarterbacks that when they're at their best, playing their best, that I just think they're better at a better quarterback at this moment in time. I mean, Josh Allen's only 3-4 years in, something like that. So,
yeah, 4. Yeah,
4. Okay, yeah, I couldn't remember. Sorry. So it's really hard to. I just think there's a couple quarterbacks in the league that if they get in the zone, that there's nothing you can do. I mean, Rodgers and Brady would be 2 of them that when they get hot, I don't think there's much you can do against them against anything. So those would just be 2 I would think when they're at their best that I think would be better, but. It's really hard to argue when he puts – or Patrick Mahomes is a big one too. When he's at his best, nobody can beat them. I mean, nobody.
No, I mean, you're right. I would say that what separates them, Josh Allen, from the other quarterbacks you mentioned is he's 240 pounds and he can run the ball. And, like, that's the thing that I go back to is, like, Bill Belichick, like, his scheming against Josh Allen isn't bad. He has players in position. It's just Josh Allen makes people miss and he runs over people. So like he could have someone there to tackle Josh Allen, but Josh Allen like just jukes him out, or Josh Allen just runs him over for 5 yards. And it's just like quarterbacks shouldn't really be allowed to do that. Like Cam Newton kind of did it, but he didn't have the arm Josh Allen did. Like Josh Allen has a better arm than Cam Newton. And then Newton was always injured. So that's where I'm just like, maybe it's not the craziest, but the one I would argue the most for is probably Patrick Mahomes. I just think that guy is amazing as well. So yeah.
I would say though, sorry, I didn't mean to cut off.
No, go ahead.
Have we seen, like, I totally agree with what you guys are saying, but I mean, have we seen those guys give that dominant in recent memory, Rodgers, Mahomes, or Brady against a defense. I mean, the Patriots still had like a top 3 defense this year, and he just completely dominated them from the first snap on every single play. A fully complete game. Rodgers, obviously he's great. He has great games. He kind of, to me, it's more like he turns it on the last couple drives of the game, like the San Francisco game this year, where it was like he makes godlike throws. But maybe other parts of the game, he has some bad drives. Whereas this, I mean, obviously we talked about it, they had 7 drives and 7 touchdowns. It was like every single play was perfect almost. I don't know if we've seen from those guys at that level, at least in recent memory.
I would agree. I would say the thing that I would agree with that. It's hard because even Patrick Mahomes, the game against the Steelers this week, which we'll talk about, the only interception he threw, it was a tip pass. At the line of scrimmage, somebody jumped and made an athletic play. So it's like he even had a really great game and his best was good. So I guess it just depends. I just like the running ability of this guy on top of the arm is what baffles me. You know what I'm saying? So maybe you're right. It's just,
yeah, it's hard to say. It's hard to say definitively like someone is the best. I just think that in general, but that doesn't sound wrong.
Yeah. It's hard to argue. Yeah, it's hard to argue. Let's go to the last thing. Singletary continues to be an efficient running back. He had 16 carries, 81 yards, 5 yards a carry, 2 touchdowns. And I think that's going to go very good for the Bills if he keeps that up, because that's the one thing that they didn't have early on this season that they have now, So, yeah. Anything to add about this game? Any other notes? No.
I'm a little concerned when a team plays this good one week. What's going to happen next week? Is it possible to repeat the same performance 2 weeks in a row? I think it's going to be hard. I have a good feeling that they'll do really good, but it also worries me just a little bit, just for Avery's sake, just because you have that great of a week, what's going to happen next week, you just don't know, but I have a good feeling about it, at least.
I think the game will be close, right, guys? I think that's, but that's the thing that Josh Allen, I feel like, has to work on a little bit, is when he had his great performance against the Patriots, a couple weeks back, he then threw 3 interceptions in the next game against the Atlanta Falcons. So he just has to learn to be more consistent, but who knows, maybe he can find it in these playoffs and then the NFL's in trouble. That would be good. What do you think, Eric? You think that
if he stays this hot, I mean, not just this hot, even if he cools down just a little bit, because you can't expect him to do this every game, but even if he just cools down and goes back to a normal quarterback level, good quarterback level, it's going to be hard to beat the Bills, because they're really good on offense, and I don't think they're terrible on defense. So by any means. So I mean, in the AFC, there's a strong chance if he keeps playing even 80-90% of like he currently is, that the Bills will be representing the AFC in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I agree.
It's hard, Ryan, when you look at the stat line, out of his 21 throws that he completed, 5 of them went for touchdowns. That's like if my math is right, is that 1 out of 4 passes was a touchdown? That's just an insane statistic. There's no way you can repeat that. But like Eric said, if you can maintain even a certain level of that, even be close to that, that's going to be hard to beat.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, let's go to our next. We're actually going to do stat bombs. Okay, so these were sent to me by your brother, Zach Avery. So I'm going to have you read these one at a time. So these are special stats that Avery sent me because he really wanted to be here, but he wasn't. So I mean, he couldn't, I should say. He couldn't make it. So let's do these one at a time. So after this game, these are some stats that came out of it.
So in honor of Avery, this is the first time the Patriots gave up 4 straight touchdowns under Bill Belichick's reign. The Bills are the first team in NFL history to not punt, kick a field goal, have a turnover, or have a 4th down play. Kind of like we talked about earlier, that efficiency unbelievable stat right there. Stat bomb.
That is a bomb right there. Wow.
Right. Unbelievable. Super cool. Just going along with that, they became the first team to score a touchdown on the first 7 drives of a playoff game. Unheard of. Absolutely unheard of. Stat bomb there, too. Let's keep going, Ryan. They only had 2 negative yardage plays with a kneel downs at the end of the game. So 2 negative plays, the only 2 plays at the end of the game that don't really even count those kneel downs. Stat bomb. Let's keep going. The Bills have handed Belichick his 3rd biggest losses of his career. They beat him by 31 points, 30 points, and 29 points. That is a crazy stat as well against one of the best coaches of all time, if not the best coach of all time.
Yeah, man.
All right, keeping it rolling. Josh Allen had more touchdowns than incompletions. 1 out of every 5 throws was a touchdown. All touchdowns were on play action against a top 5 defense. So again, a very impressive stat line there. Very much a stat bomb.
And we just all been stat bombed. Is there any one of those things that like really blow your mind, pun intended, Eric? Like what would you say like is the most mind blowing of those stats?
Only 2 negative yardage plays was a big one for me because, you could just have one thing go wrong, a missed blocked, quarterback gets sacked, anything. I mean, just standard plays in the game. And the only 2 negative plays are kneel downs, which, I mean, if that's your worst plays of the game is the kneel downs at the end of the game, it's going to be a pretty happy camper.
Not a good day for the Patriots, for sure. Chris, any of those ones like blow your mind?
That was the biggest one for me also.
Yeah. What about you, Zach? I know you presented them all. What one blew your mind?
Yeah, so while I was watching this game, I was with one of my other cousins, and we're just watching it. It's touchdown after touchdown after touch. Like, they are not stopping them on any of these drives. So to have a touchdown in the first 7 drives of a game in any game is crazy, let alone a playoff game against supposed to be one of the best defenses in the league. I mean, wow is all I have to say to that. Wow.
Yeah. Wow. Thanks, Avery. These were definitely mind blowing. Thank you for that. Okay, let's go to some things I wanted to ask as far as considering this game, just to end our conversation here. Bill Belichick, is he losing it a little bit? Has he lost his edge a little bit? Anybody think so? Eric, you reacted first.
No, it's one bad game doesn't define his career. He has been a career since he joined the Patriots, a great coach for ages, since I've been alive, and. So no, one bad game against a really high-powered offense does not mean he's losing his edge.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of, do you guys remember the playoff game when the Ravens like destroyed the Patriots? They ran the ball with Ray Rice all over it was like 34-3, and Tom Brady was still the quarterback then. So it can happen, right? Anything to add, guys? No? Okay.
I don't think so.
Okay, so what do you think, like, so just real briefly, we don't have to spend a lot of time on this, Patriots offseason, what do you think they need to get back here or even progress? Maybe one thing that they could use, or what you're looking forward to them adding, or I know none of us are really looking forward to the Patriots being good, but maybe we could start with Zach. You got anything?
I mean, I would like to see him add another receiver. It just, that's the one thing they seem to be lacking, especially you see it in this game where they're behind and they just can't produce any kind of air yardage. I wish they would have used the tight ends more. I think they, between Jono and Hunter, they both have super talented tight ends, and then wide receivers aren't anything to laugh at either, but they're not superstars. So if anything, I would say get a good wide receiver in there to be able to play a game like this where they have to play from behind.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think what they're missing is sort of that Wes Welker, Danny Amendola slot receiver that's been the staple in Bill Belichick's offense for years. They don't really have a guy like that. How about you, Chris? Anything?
No, I would agree with that because I forget if I get them confused. If it's Myers or Bourne, who's more of the possession receiver, but he's also not really like a over the middle type of guy. Yeah, Jacoby Myers had 83. Yeah, he was more of the possession guy. He had 83 catches, 10 yards a catch. But yeah, not at Welker level or anything like that. And I was trying to find out if they had their offensive line, because it seems like they've been rebuilding kind of piece by piece, right? They've got good running backs. They're not like high draft picks or anything, but they've gotten kind of the running game back. They went out and got a bunch of receivers. They got Judon.
Yeah.
I forget, maybe one other guy on defense. They have a good secondary, so they don't really have any like holes. So I was trying to find out maybe their offensive line, if they had a lot of like injuries or anything like that, if 5 guys played 16 or 17 games. So maybe offensive line, because I know after one of their recent Super Bowls, they lost some of their offensive linemen to free agency. So pure speculation without knowing the exact numbers. That might be their next step, is to rebuild some of those offensive line pieces.
No, that's a good point. I think that's right, because I remember like even listening to Bill Simmons, who is a big Patriots fan. He even mentioned like that they could use more help on the offensive line. Eric?
I'm not going to go with an addition as much as I'm going to go with. I just want to see how they develop more around Mac Jones, because now that they know he's their quarterback, and they want to develop around them, because last offseason they didn't know if he was going to be there when they drafted. So now they had a year of playing with him. Belichick knows his strengths and weaknesses even better than he did before, and just seeing what he can develop, what pieces he puts around him to make him best succeed. If any coach in the league can figure it out and, make their team, make them all of a sudden even better than they were this year, it's Belichick.
Yeah. Good point.
Okay. I have a quick addendum to what I said, because I tracked it down. No, they had their interior line pretty much started every game. They had one tackle that started 15 games. And I couldn't tell you if Wynn is a left or a right tackle, but then their other tackle, they had like 4 different guys start. So I don't know if that's all due to injury or maybe inconsistency. So I'm going to say that's what they're going to target.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, good retract. So then the last thing, Bills got the Chiefs up next. Just really quick, yes or no, do the Bills win the game? I'll just ask you one at a time against the Chiefs. Eric, what do you think?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Zach?
Yeah.
Okay. So just so everybody knows that's listening, we're going to have a preview podcast on Wednesday where we'll give our final predictions. But I just wanted to get the feel of the room overall right now. Okay, next game. Well, there you have it. That's our recap of the Bills versus the Patriots. Let us know what you thought of the game, what you think the Patriots might do in the offseason, and how far can the Bills go? Let us know in the comments below. Like the video, subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more of the videos. And if you'd like to listen to the rest of the podcast, click on the link below. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll talk to you guys soon.